2025, so at this point in our lives, we've all heard of Battle Royale. We've all seen death games. We've had the Hunger Games. We've had the Maze Runner on the American side, but then a lot of people have watched Battle Royale, General Game, Liar Game, Friend Game, just a slew of various death games. Alice in the Borderland, Squid Game. For the past 20 years, or even longer than that, we have been completely captivated with death games. It's all types of B movies to A movies to Z movies. We love seeing a group of people brought together in one room and being forced to compete against each other, with the thing being, if you lose, you die. That's it. So I don't even really have to be like, imagine a world where you got to do XYZ. A lot of y'all have probably already imagined this world. Especially considering there's been like real life versions of Squid Game going on. Even in areas like China, where people have been forced to do the wildest things to make a lot of money and failing miserably. It's no secret to us. And I'm happy to finally have watched the original OG Japanese Battle Royale. It's been in the back of my mind for a long time. There was a period of time when Battle Royale was on Netflix. I did not watch it then. When Battle Royale originally came out, of course I didn't watch it. I was a child. And then as I've been trying to find it as an adult, I've been finding a lot of dubbed versions, like very poorly dubbed versions of the movie. And that's not how I like to watch stuff, especially if it's in Japanese when I can understand some of what people are saying. I wanted to watch it with the original Japanese audio with subtitles. Whether those subtitles be English or Japanese, I would take it or leave it. But I wanted to hear the actual Japanese actors saying their lines. I don't think it gave me much in terms of like anything that comes out today. You absolutely want to hear the Japanese version. Hearing the Japanese version of this is kind of like, y'all are not good actors. It holds a special place in the zeitgeist, even though it's an old movie at this point, because it has caused such influence. Like, it has influenced an entire genre across the world of movies revolving around people having to compete against each other to survive. So I want to give it its flowers and give it the proper attention that it needs. So let me go ahead and jump into the plot. Give you the plot here. In the world of Battle Royale, for some reason, all of the adults just decided one day that they were gonna take like a class of delinquent kids and they were going to make them compete against each other where only one of them survived. If you are to believe the main antagonist of these movies, the parents sign off on it. So the parent is like, hey, my kid ain't shit. Put him in a death game where he may not come home. I don't know what type of world problem is supposed to be solving. I guess less delinquents, instead of, doing anything to reform the kids, is just like seventh graders, like little, like really young kids who are being forced to participate in these, and the parents are apparently signing their children's lives away. It's really weird. But I mean, after the first one, I was like, no way, that's real. But then the second movie I watched the second movie and I was like, oh, okay, so they are actually like, they know, people know this is happening. This isn't a secret like how Squid Game is a secret. Like, everyone in Japan just knows that this is what they're doing. All the adults know. So in Battle Royale, the first one, you get to watch the very first Battle Royale. I'm going to say Battle Royale so many times. You get to watch the first BR that ever happens. And then by the second movie, it's happened enough times to where even the kids know what it is and they're pissed off about it. And there seems to be this war, this animosity between children and adults, this weird hatred. And I think it encapsulates some of, like, you can tell an adult wrote this because, yes, teenagers are annoying. I was once a teenager. I was annoying. They're moody. They're bratty. They got attitude. They talk back. They disrespectful. They challenge authority. I get it. But killing them, like, that's a jump. And also there's a gratuitous use of guns for a place like Japan where people don't use guns. Like in America, yes, everybody has a gun. In Japan, people don't be having guns like that. There's a gratuitous use of guns in the military in both of these movies, which I find to just be very over the top and hilarious. Even when they're like shooting it, you can tell that they don't know what to do with the guns. But it's like, we have guns, we got to use them. And so they're like throwing the guns all around and holding them improperly. It's hilarious. And I don't know if these two movies are meant to be hilarious, because there's these monologues that happen in the both movies that feels like I should be taking this very, very seriously, but I can't help but laugh at all of the over the top acting. The movie does a lot of things that makes me feel like I'm missing a movie. It makes me feel like I'm missing like a manga or a webtoon or something in terms of background story, because they give us these flashbacks that I'm not even sure fit. I don't know where they fit in the story. So literally one of the first scenes that you see is you're in a school and you have this teacher, he's walking, and then he randomly gets stabbed by a student, and then a bunch of other kids start running, and then the boy that stabbed him drops the knife, and a girl nearby picks up the knife and hides it behind her back, and then the teacher goes to like he looks at her and then he goes to like wash his hands. And my first assumption watching this scene, because it's the first thing I see of these characters, is that, oh, is it one of those things where he put them through hell with the battle royale and then they got out and then they attacked him? But after watching 1 and 2, no. It just seems like that's just something that happens. Like that just happens in the story. Maybe that's his final reason. Maybe that's the teacher's reason for snapping and saying, my class specifically needs to do this battle royale thing. Because these two baby-faced teenagers who you know nothing of any beef that they have or any issues that they have with this teacher, all of a sudden just decide to stab him one day and hide the weapon. Like, I don't know if they were trying to kill him. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what the teacher did to make them want to stab him, but he looked like the type of guy that would do some shit that would make you want to stab him. You know what I mean? It's like, it's in his face, it's in his swagger, it's how he moves. Like, he's just giving villain. He just gives villain. So even though he is the victim in this scene, I'm like, what'd he do? What'd he do to them kids that made them go after him like that with a knife? He had to do something. There's no way he was innocent and this is like his villain origin story. There's no way. There's no way that that's what happened. Yes. So the teacher in here is named Kitano, and the student that stabs him is Shuya Nanahara and Noriko Nakagawa. There's a lot of awas in these people's names, but Shuya is the one that stabs him, and then Noriko is the one that picks up the knife and like hides it from him, even though he can obviously see that she's somehow involved. So that just happens without any explanation, any follow-up. We jump over to the kids who are on the bus. They're all on the bus. They're having a good time. They're talking and stuff. It was reminding me of Tag, and I was like, ooh, what's about to happen to him, you know? And so then this gas comes out, and then everyone falls asleep. They wake up in a school out in some abandoned area on an abandoned island. Kitano comes in with armed guards, letting them know that they all ain't shit. They're delinquents. They're worthless, good for nothings. And the adults have decided that this is somehow a solution, is to make them all kill each other, and only one person is allowed to survive. So everybody in there except one person's gonna die, and everybody's obviously shocked. Some kids are angry. They're like, what the fuck are you doing? I think one of them tries to attack him. He takes a knife, he throws it, he ends up killing someone right off the bat. They all freak out like, oh shit, he's actually killing people. We're actually gonna die. This is serious. And they go through all of the rules, right? The rules are nothing too elaborate, you know. It's like they're gonna be given bags with mystery weapons and gear. The girls would be able to get an extra bag of hygiene products in case any of them on their period. They are going to be sent out one by one because at the end, only one of them can survive. So they're going to be sent out one by one to go run all over the island. And every now and then they're going to announce which areas of the island are like, dead zones or whatever. So that if you're still in that area, think PUBG, if you're still in that area, when the timer hits or whatever, then you'll die immediately. They all have these collars around their necks that will explode if they, are in a dead zone, or if they make it to the end of the 3-day period and there are more people than just one person alive, everybody will be killed. So there's no option to like not do it, to sit it out or anything. If you want a chance of surviving, you have to make sure that everybody else on the island is dead. And to even help that, Kitano every few hours will do an announcement of everybody who's died. And this is like, I think it's about 42 kids. And it's kind of split down the middle evenly between girls and boys. They obviously don't want to do this, but then they realize they have no choice. And they're surrounded by military men with guns pointed at them. So they just have to do it. And so immediately after people like run out one by one, some of them do try to hang around to like find their friend because these kids are friends. I wish we had more time with them than just the time that we saw them on the bus. Because this is a long movie anyway, but I wish we had more time with all the kids outside of the little bit of time on the bus before they all were knocked out to get a better understanding of their relationships, because they all act as if they have these like, well-established relationships that we've seen on camera, but we haven't seen them. And I'm a big fan of Show Don't Tell, but I feel like I could have used a couple flashbacks, to kind of show me some, because some of these characters had like serious hostility towards each other, and it just didn't make sense. Like some of them immediately was like, oh, a death game? I'm killing this bitch specifically. I have beef with this bitch specifically. And as someone who used to be a teenager, I can relate. But I also would have liked to see a little bit of background of like, why her though? What's her problem? Because they had a character in there who seemed like she was like more villainous, that because she was killing people. But then when someone got the upper hand on her, she started acting like she was like a victim of bullying, and that's the only reason that she was doing what she was doing, which I mean makes sense. But I didn't know you was a victim of bullying. So I'm thinking that you just out here just like that you hear you got to kill people and you're just like, yeah, let's do it. I'm gonna kill everybody. But then later it was like, you guys are always bullying me and picking on me and like, oh, something. I'm like, oh, it would have been helpful to know that you were like the kid that got bullied and that's why you were so ready to kill everybody. It just would have helped me a little bit. But yeah, and then they also introduced, speaking of characters, they also introduced 2 characters who were not originally a part of that class, but they were brought in to make the fight more interesting, because there is a chance that the kids don't decide to kill each other, that they instead decide to try to band together and like work to survive. And that's not entertaining, because this also, there's the element of this where they just want this to be interesting too. Like, it's like weird because you have all the military men here who are so serious and they're acting like this is something that they have to do to solve the problem of delinquent teenagers. But the more it goes on, it seems like this is more of an entertainment thing. And the movie does star, and I skipped over this part because it doesn't make sense if I tell everything in chronological order. The movie does start with all of these like journalists who are outside of a battle royale where one little girl survives, and they're all trying to get pictures of the little girl and they're trying to report on it. So from the way that they're talking about, it's like they all know what's going on, but they also seem surprised that the winner was a little girl. So it tells me that maybe they're not actively watching everything that's happening, because if outsiders were actively watching everything that was happening, they wouldn't be surprised at who the winner was. It's weird that Kitano is acting like this needs to be entertaining. It needs to be exciting, because at the end of the day, all the kids are going to die regardless. So even if they decided not to kill each other, and they all just like their necklaces exploded at the end of the 3-day mark, you still got mostly what you wanted anyway out of that situation. Like because your goal here is ultimately just to kill 41 delinquent kids, and that's it. and I hope I don't get age restricted. I'm saying a lot of bad words, a lot of words that YouTube would be like, no, stop saying that. It just makes no sense. Like, it's the rules are so weird, and it doesn't help anything. Like, they made it sound like this was the only thing that they could do to solve this delinquent problem. I guess maybe they hope it'll be a deterrent if I put words in their mouth. Like, kids won't be delinquents because then they won't end up in the battle royale. But nobody knows exactly how they choose who goes to the battle royale, because the kids in the first movie all look like regular kids. They all look like regular seventh graders. None of them are like, because in Battle Royale 2, the class that gets chosen, they have wild, crazy hairstyles and hair colors. They talk in a very aggressive form of Japanese that denotes that they are delinquents, that they do engage in violence, and that they are rebels against authority. My cats are fighting behind the camera. So if that was the group that showed up, Sadie, stop. If that was the group that showed up on this first movie, I would have been like, okay, I can see. They may think that, they easily would look like delinquents to me, who they may feel is a burden on society or something. But in one, they all look like regular kids. So I'm like, what the fuck they do? What did they do? And I'm like, in Shuya being a main character has the most baby face out of every other character in there. Every other student in there, you can kind of convert them into some kind of delinquent, and like maybe they were just hiding it or something. Shuya has the babiest of baby faces. He genuinely looks innocent all the time. No matter what he doing, he look young and he look innocent, and you just want to see him survive, because it's like, oh, poor baby. You forget too, because of the way this movie is structured, you forget that he did stab Kitano. But even if you remember, I just feel like Kitano deserved it. The fact that he is, trying to kill all these kids in his class, I just kind of feel like he did something that led to him needing to be stabbed. He just kind of seemed that type of character. Shuya looks like a baby. And you don't want to see him engage in violence. And he can't really. The majority of the movie, he doesn't engage in violence. He tries his best to defend himself. He may accidentally hurt some people. And then the last half of the movie, he can't really do much of anything. So he's just kind of there as things are happening around him, which, I mean, when you think of some death games, like, you see that there's that kind of character where they're just kind of there and they survive out of pure luck. Shuya was surviving out of pure luck and people wanting to help him because he seemed like a genuine, caring, kind person. And I mean, that's all he was giving me. So I'm saying, if he stabbed Kitano, maybe Kitano deserved it. Noriko is the other main character in this group, but she's just a girl. Unfortunately, she's written to be just a girl who likes Shuya and is doing her best to stick beside him and, to help him when she can help him, and to she just kind of attaches herself to the other guys, which I don't think is any fun, but I get why a Japanese movie from that time period would make her that type of character. There are plenty of other girl characters in this movie too that are like athletic, that are badass, that are willing to kill people. And then there's plenty of girls who are just trying to hide and don't want anything bad to happen to them. And they're genuinely scared anytime one of the boys comes near them because they think the boy's going to kill them. Rightfully so. So it's like Noriko doesn't really do much of anything, but she is a main character. And then they have the two guys who were brought in to make things more interesting. One guy doesn't really say anything to anybody. He does look like an actual delinquent, and he does go around killing people and taking their stuff. And he becomes like a big antagonist for all the other kids, because even when the kids do try to work together to figure out what's going on, try to figure out how to get the necklaces off of their neck so that their heads don't explode, try to figure out how to get a signal out to people off the island so someone can come help them. Like, they have all of these little micro stories that are going on with other characters, which allows you to get close to some of those characters and see some development. And then this dude just shows up killing everybody. And it reminds me of season 2 of Alice in the Borderland, when they have the king of, I forget which card he is, but he's the king and he goes around shooting people. Like, it's like that guy. Because that's what this dude does. I feel like a lot of Japanese death game movies and shows pay homage to Battle Royale, which I think is really cool. Um, and then the other guy, who I forgot his name, but the other guy turns out to be someone who won a previous Battle Royale, which also threw me for a loop. Because remember how earlier I said that this sounds like this is like the first Battle Royale they have? Because nobody knows what it is. Like, but then you have the girl at the beginning who won, and I'm thinking maybe that's a flash forward or something. Maybe that's a flash forward into a world where they have had multiple battle royales. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But then you have this guy who's obviously a character who did a battle royale, and he looks like an older man. Like, he looks like he's way older than everybody else. Everybody else is babyface. This man looked like a grown ass man, and he did a battle royale where he survived. And I mean, I don't know what they expected of his life after he survived. Everybody who survived seems to be severely traumatized, but he decides to come back in. And his motives for coming back in, you don't fully know, but he decides to help Shuya and Noriko. So from a world building perspective, what the hell is going on? Because Kitano explains at the beginning to the kids that the Battle Royale or the BR Act was something that was recently passed as a way to deal with delinquent kids like them, like good for nothing kids like them. And the kids have no idea what's going on. They don't know anything about it. How do they, in a world where they have done this before, and the journalists and the news media are all surrounding the island to try and find out who won or who survived the battle royale, do these other kids not know that kids are being abducted and being put through a death game? You see what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make any sense. If this was the very first time it happened, that would make sense. And I could even excuse the stuff at the beginning because maybe that's a flash forward. But to have a character in the death game who looks like an adult, who says, I survived a previous battle royale, means that Japan knows that there are battle royales. But the kids had to explain to the kids that there were battle royales. It does not make any sense from a world builder's perspective. The writing is all over the place in both movies. But anyway, the guy who won the previous one at the end decides to help them, and they stage this fake out where it seems like he's just befriended Shuya and Noriko so that he could kill them and be the only survivor. But in reality, they band together. Kitano was very upset, and he sent all the army men away. And then, Shuya, Noriko, and them, they end up ambushing him. Let me talk about Kitano real quick. I've already talked about him and how he seems like a villain, like he's always been a villain. Throughout the movie, he is doing a painting. He's eating the cookies that Noriko made for Shuya. He's took them from them. He's eating them. And he's doing a painting of all the kids dying. Again, man's been a villain. But in the middle, he draws one of the girls. And the girl turns out to be Noriko. He wanted Noriko to survive the battle royale because she was the only one out of that class that he liked. And you get these weird flashbacks of him and her frolicking on the riverbank, eating ice cream. What the hell? What the fuck is going on? They're frolicking on the riverbank eating ice cream. Do they have some kind of romantic relationship? Like, it's incredibly, it looks suspicious when you watch it because the way that the flashback is going with all the lights and the music makes it seem like they have some type of romantic relationship. They never kiss. They don't embrace each other. But tell me what teen girl is frolicking on the riverbank eating ice cream with her teacher? Something about that is weird. And the way she reacts to him too makes it seem like she doesn't have any feelings towards him. And she doesn't fully understand why he would even want her to survive or like her like that. Because if she did have feelings towards him in the beginning, she probably would have tried to appeal to those feelings. But she seems to not even know that he had these feelings with her. And then when you think about the other scene that we had where Shuya stabbed him and then Noriko hid the knife. what is these two's relationship? Something's weird here. Something's not making sense. I don't understand. But he wants her. She is the light of his life apparently, and he wanted her to be the one to survive. And when he thought that the guy betrayed them and killed both of them so he could survive, he was so upset that he sent all the guards away. Also, why do the army men slash soldiers slash guards listen to Kitano like he's a general? Like, that also doesn't make sense. Kitano is a school teacher. He's not a lieutenant. He's not a sergeant. But they like obey all of his commands. So when he tells them to all pack up their shit and leave, they're like, "Oh, but sir." But then they end up leaving. So they leave him there to be ambushed by Shuya, Noriko, and the other guy, and then he ends up getting shot. And there's also this thing that's going to tie into the next movie. He keeps like calling his teen daughter, and every time she gets on the phone with him, she's like, "What? What do you want?" Like, she does not like this man. And she's like calling him all, she's like insulting him, and she's being very rude and disrespectful. And you could tell that he has like a very strained relationship with his daughter. But I don't give a fuck. Like, is this supposed to make me feel sympathetic towards him all of a sudden? Like, you over here trying to have a relationship with your daughter while you giggle and laugh and announce how many kids died every few hours? These kids that were your kids, that you were responsible for, that you were supposed to be taking care of, that you're supposed to be teaching them and molding them and all of those things. And you're over here like, not as many people died this hour as the people who died the last hour, guys. Keep it up. Keep it up. Like, this man is a villain. He shouldn't have a relationship with his daughter. She shouldn't want to talk to him. He crazy. He is crazy. And you'll see, and we'll talk about in the next movie, the flashbacks that show this man is crazy. Why y'all trying to make his death seem all sad? And let's also talk about the fact that this man, why he's so difficult to kill. In the beginning, Shuya stabs him, and he bowls over at first, but then he just like walks it off. And then at the end, he gets shot, gets up, walks it off. He gets shot several times, falls out. They're like, "Oh, is he dead?" And then the phone started ringing. This nigga get up and go answer the phone. Didn't you just get shot like 5, 6, 7, 8 times? Why are you so hard to kill? What type of villain is this? Is this supposed to be realistic or not? Because the guns and the kids and the stuff makes it seem like they want this to be realistic. Why is he so hard to kill? He doesn't finally die until he gets off the phone with his daughter, which is wild. So the guy that helped Shuya and Noriko, he goes off on his own, and then Shuya and Noriko have to go on the run because they put out an APB for them murdering their teacher. Which, again, in a world where people know about battle royales and know that there is a battle royale happening, and they want to know who survives the battle royale, Shuya and Noriko escaping after killing the teacher is literally only presented in the news as they killed their teacher and now they're on the run. Why would it not be reported that they somehow survived the battle royale and killed their teacher and now they're on the run? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. But yeah, the world building is wild and it's inconsistent. The acting is inconsistent. The dialogue is them doing the best they can, but the acting is inconsistent and all over the place. And Shuya is a sweet baby who's just kind of like being jerked along this whole storyline. But I did like that each group of kids that you met did have their own beef with each other, the bullying with each other, the distrust of each other, girls trying to band together, the betrayal and stuff. And like, you had the other kid who was trying to figure out what was going on, trying to see if he can hack his way into the necklaces and everything. But ultimately, almost all of them die except for the final 3 people. But it was still interesting to watch some of those things happen and watch as people are dying, like, oh, actually, I had a crush on this guy. Or this guy came to like rescue one of the girls, but she was so scared that he was there to kill her that she shot him. And then it was only revealed as he was dying that he wanted to save her because he had a crush on her. A lot of people having crushes on each other. There were people who like, now that I got a weapon, I'm gonna make you like me type stuff. So it was very interesting to see all of these different storylines. I just wish you probably got a little bit more in the beginning to kind of care more about these characters. I know 42 is a lot of kids, but it ain't that many kids if you think about it. Because a good number of them died like in the very beginning and didn't have any type of character development. So if we had just got the kids that we saw like in the middle towards the end that were important to us, and we watched kind of the environment that they were in prior to being brought to the island, I think that that would have developed the characters more and made us more invested in the characters. Can't fix the shitty world building, but you can fix getting us more invested into the characters, because I think both Battle Royale and Battle Royale 2 have the same issue of like, you meet them on the island, like you meet them after they've already been kidnapped, as opposed to beforehand to kind of get that setup of who they are and how they are. But I'm gonna cut this here, and I will in the next video talk about Battle Royale 2 Requiem, because I know I'm gonna have a lot more words for that one. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.